Joining me today in the booth is my good friend and co-commentator for the last however many sessions, Richard Gayler. How you doing, man?
Hey, what's up, man? Good to be back.
Pakawaku saying tables names Richard and Henry. Come on, man. We can do better than that. We can do better than that.
No, we need a little bit more creativity.
Tables lunch and dinner. Come on, guys. You've been dropping some absolute bangers in the chat for this entire challenge. Don't let us down just because it's Monday. Guys don't need to be lazy with it. Jesus, man. You always know there's going to be like a couple of people that are just super out of line in the chat when we ask for table names. Talking to getting out of line.
Yeah, I really like this turn raise from Freak. He can be raising turn with a lot of draws, turned wrap plus baby flush draw, a bunch of those, although he should be c-betting flop with a bunch of his, for instance, 56 of hearts. So not as many of the 5, 6, 7 of hearts here for Freak. Phil has to be leading turn with...
Oh, there we go. Okay. Straight in. 60k pot. Let's go. Wow, and Phil running into a turn top set. And rivering... Did he just river quads, Richard?
Oh, yes, he did.
And get your 4-bet horns out, ladies and gentlemen. Just 17 minutes into today's stream, and how about a 5-bet from Freak? I mean, SPR 0.1. Phil doesn't drill it this time. Freak's aces gonna hold. Phil flopping. A gut shot that would have been no good, and 8 high spades. Those of you just joining us, this is day 9 of the Galfond challenge match between Actionfreak and Phil Galfond. Phil coming in today up around about 430 Gs. Richard Gayler and Henry Kilbane in the booth. I don't know why I just called myself Henry Kilbane. I don't know, it felt a bit weird, but you guys know who we are. We're here all week, pretty much.
It is what you go by, right?
It is, but like to
Henry Kilbane.
Just be like, oh, we got Richard Gayler and Henry Kilbane in the booth. Like, I don't know, man. It's a bit weird.
I like this bet by Phil. A lot of his, for instance, 75 has a strong incentive to bet flop, though, so he's definitely has a discounted amount of 7 high straights. Could see the once in a blue moon nut straight check back into pot, but that would be getting tricky. I feel like this is about to get picked off.
Looked up by 2 pair.
Yeah, I mean, Phil's repping it, but I feel like this is about to get picked off.
So you're saying that Phil never has some, like 6-5 combos that check back flop?
Oh, he has some, yeah. But he's got so many hands that want to bluff here.
Oh, there it is.
Wow, he had the cheeky nut straight check back into pot, indeed.
Yeah, man, just like going to bed at 9 a.m., waking up at 5 p.m., just not having a clue what day it is. This quarantine's getting to us.
Waking up at 5 p.m.?
Yeah, has to be done every now and then.
You're definitely deviating from the book of theory if that's how you're setting your sleep schedule.
Yeah, I mean, I was grinding pretty heavily because I'd only just got back from America, and I just wanted to put in as much volume as possible, and I was kind of waking up at like 4 p.m., 5 p.m., like grabbing a cup of coffee and then just jumping straight into the action, like 15 hours straight.
Speaking of action, take a look at flowing.
At flowing, check raise on the 3 of hearts turn. The Phil betting pot.
I could see some wheels here for Freak. He's not just 64. He could also be check raising turn. He should be check raising turn with some like 2-pair flush draw. If he has something like Queen 3-6 with diamonds.
So do you feel like this river improves Freak's range?
Well, it improves Phil's range at a frequency greater than Freak's, but Freak has some diamonds. He doesn't have many, but he has some. Phil has more, though. So he should generally be playing his check here. And then, I mean, he has to be getting pretty out of line if he pots it. I mean, if he pots it here, I tend to believe it. Because it's so out of sync with the majority of his range. Wow, what
He
the
goes
heck?
block.
What the
Okay.
heck? I mean, this looks like something like a 7 high straight or a 6 high straight with a diamond, something like that. He might be inducing, though. We've seen him be a little sneaky. This is a spot where, I mean, Freak's a high-level player. This should be a spot where he knows when he bets this sizing, Phil has to respond with a large amount of raises. And look at Phil's stack. It's a perfect size to jam it in here.
Yeah.
So it's completely reasonable for him to be taking some of his flushes, getting creative, and then, nope, 7 high straight with the diamond. There it is.
Had the 76 on the river. Yeah, that was really interesting to see Freak take that line. Do you think he should be playing that as check call on the river, or do you think block is like just the best strategy to?
Oh, well, he needs to get value from worse straights. It's mandatory. So I like his bet. He should be doing that exact same thing with a couple hands that have 2 diamonds in them, though, just so he can't get jammed on. But so he can't be jammed on with impunity. But when he has 7 high straight with 1 diamond, that's a pretty good candidate to call down to if he gets jammed on. So he would probably look it up. But I don't know. Phil. Flop went check in that hand too, right? So Phil's
It did,
diamonds
yeah.
are discounted slightly.
Yeah,
People-
check pot, repot, turn,
So
and then quarter pot river.
yeah, we've seen this type of spot over on flowing many times in this challenge now. 3-bet pot where you have a flop bet and then a small turn bet when the board pairs, as I've said many times before, increasing the value of the in-position players like 10x, and Phil's overpairs being overall better, so he goes small and wide. Then the in-position player chooses to either raise small, have a couple calls, or probably overfold with the rest of their hands. Now Phil in a tough spot as he has to play for stacks with basically everything that he bet turn with if he decides to continue, as this small turn raise is almost always going in. Freak has a ton of hands he can reach into to be bluffing here with. We've seen Phil raise fold in Freak's shoes in this exact spot before. Phil's bluffing in this spot decently often when he's in Freak's shoes. Freak choosing to raise here if he has something like 7, 8, 9 of spades, that much prefers to play as raise turn jam river. Phil should have a few boats, but it's really mostly overpairs here. And then,
Oh wow!
yeah,
So he
Freak,
does call it off.
both of them being top of range. Freak having him pipped by 2.
So it looks like Freak sitting out over on table juices. Maybe he's going to go and grab a quick coffee.
I got to be honest, good old Rod. I have no recollection of V-Day this year. Just straight 0. Stone Bagel. It's kind of like
Stone
Labor
what?
Day. Stone Bagel, full 0. When you've got a Memorial Day, Labor Day, I don't even know when those days are. Valentine's Day, good luck. Is that in February? I'm just not. I got Mother's Day though. I got that. Took care of business.
You sent the bouquet and the card.
Yeah, had a little call. Yeah.
Nice, man. Good man. Love to hear it. You know, you're never too old, as my mum keeps telling me. Just told me many times. Just vote in confidence, Henry. If you ever go broke, don't worry. You can always move back in with mum and dad. And I'm just like, mum, I hope it never gets to that. You know.
Well, if you're making more money from buying action than you are from playing poker, I don't think you're gonna have to move in with your parents anytime soon. We have a check raise from Phil that has a couple bluff candidates. Ace King 10, King 10 9. Although a lot of his Ace King 10 would be 3-bet free, so really like King 10 X with spades. But I really expect to see mostly 10 9 here. I mean, he could get super freaky with like Ace Jack 5 6 nut spades, but that's no straight blocker. Doesn't really seem like Phil's style at this point. When he does check here, yes, he has to shut down with some of his bluffs, but some of his bluffs would continue. So this narrows him down more to 10-9 that now is trying to get to showdown, and Freak deciding whether he's going to take his nut flush draw or flush draw plus straight draw. In this case, he had the nut flush draw with a straight draw, and whether he bluffs with them. But he had kings for showdown that beat all of Phil's check raise give ups, so he chose to check back. Jack of spades, he should not be slowing down, especially SPR4. He has a ton of leverage. Chooses half pot. So this is very special. Do you know what's special about SPR4, Henry?
Let's go. Break it down for us.
Yeah, you can pot it and get all the money in.
It decides to go half pot instead.
Yeah, so what he's doing is he's not threatening Phil's entire stack, perhaps trying to run a slightly more credible bluff. I mean, who bluffs this spot? You know, like if you're bluffing, don't you want to get the maximum leverage, i.e. pot it and polarize more?
Oh, freak. Declining in that particular spot. Maybe
Phil-
trying to get some
Phil-
cheaper bluffs through.
Yeah.
Run It Once Poker said, if you're looking for some splashy games, check out runitonce.eu. I know a lot of you guys have been tweeting to me and tweeting to Run It Once Poker about some of the games you've been involved in. No, obviously with the extra 60% rake back and 45% rake back hours that have been running, you guys have been up to all hours of the morning. Let me know if you're involved in any huge splash the pots. I want to see some of them juicy 1,000 big blind pots just getting chipped left, right, and center.
Dude, I would totally play bullet PLO 3-second time banks.
Oh, that's disgusting.
That would be my jam. I'd play that until my eyes bled.
I mean, how many tables? Like 4 tabling?
Two.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I feel like anything more than 2 would just be an absolute car crash. Constantly timing out.
Yeah, I mean, that would just be so much fun. Honestly, we should invent that. That should be a thing. Yo, Thalo, I call. Wow, Phil with the King's Hero. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? I wasn't even talking about that hand because I was like, yeah, Freak just has the Queen High straight here. Like, and Phil looking him up with one pair. The most disrespectful aspect of that hand is he had his premium bluff raise hand and said, oh, I don't need to raise this guy off his hand. I'm good anyway, and just slide in the chips.
The good old-fashioned "I don't believe you" call button. Love to see it.
That is so absurd. That is unbelievably absurd. Although he is probably reading into the half pot bet being exactly Queen High straights, not something like 2 pair or set. Phil with the cheeky small raise on Jack 5-6 two-tone. He should have pretty good coverage of this board in a single raise pot. Both people having decent coverage. Can see some fireworks here, although this 3 of hearts typically shuts down the action. Phil could conceivably have something like ace king 4-7, king high flush draw. That would check raise bet jam, but oh, by the way, Thal, if you are actually serious, I have a guy that runs one of my friends from college created the site donkhouse.com. So if you wanted, he could create a custom game mode that has 5-second time banks for us. We have the technology. Freak picking up the betting lead, piling for pot. I think he's got a lot of hands that want to bluff here. A lot of 7, 8, 9, a lot of missed diamonds with gutter. You know, if he has like king, queen, 9, 7, a lot of hands that could be bluffing here. If Phil has something like jacks up or a set that plays turn as check, he's obligated to call. Yeah, I mean, Thalo, that's why I was saying we should play 2-5. I mean, if you're out there balling with Aria Sky Suites, trust me, you're balling more than I am.
Morning. I just googled what a Malibu is. Chevy. You know what? That's such a U car, Richie. Some of them juicy 1,000 big blind.
Wow, so we had a huge cooler.
Left, right, and center.
Huge cooler on our hands.
Yeah, I would totally play.
Luckily, no diamond.
3 seconds.
Well, I'll tell you what, if anyone rocked up in our game with 1K in a 1025, like, actually, true story, Isildur jumped into our game for a bit with one. He was like min buying in into the 1025, buying in for 1K bullets, and he only had one move, and it was like just 3-bet squeeze his entire stack or fold pre-flop.
Yeah, I understand. So Freak, by doubling off here and checking river, is typically value deficient. He probably sees the 10 of spades and realizes that discounts his flushes, and so he's going to give more credit to Phil's bluff catching range. Any 2 pairs that Phil has with a spade are probably snapping him. It's possible that he was semi-bluffing on flop and turn and then river to straight, and now he's in the awkward spot where Phil's going to be bluffing his betting his spades, and then, yep, there it is. And then he has to decide, what do I do with like ace-jack with the jack of spades? Tough spot for Freak. Given he hasn't snap folded, he probably has something in that vicinity. Phil opening up his stack over on flowing with a non-polarizing bet on the queen 10-6-4 while 35K's behind.
And Phil taking it down on table juices. Easy way people are saying Henry with the stories, Richard like, oh really? Anyways, the action.
It's not that I don't care about you. You know, I there's much love here. I just gotta dial in on.
Oh, 100%, man. There have been a couple of times I told you when we were off stream, you know, where like, oh no, actually I told you on stream, you started breaking down the hand history. And I was telling Nick as well, you know, sometimes when you get into a hand, it's just like, you know, that annoying ex-girlfriend that we all have, your hearing just kind of switches off, you know, without you even deliberately doing it sometimes. So,
You know, I'm not saying I play better than you, but I never upgraded that kind of person to girlfriend. Anyway, we've got a third pot bet from flowing. Very reasonable on the monotone board. And
yeah, Phil.
blocker. Unlucky Phil. Running his mandatory bluff into a hand that has to look him up.
You could get freaky with it, man. You could, you know, build a decent following.
There's only one person that's getting freaky, and that's Freak trying to leverage his trips advantage on this 3-3-6 3-bet pot in position.
The old 25% pot bet.
Yeah, I dig it. Phil is a notorious player for over defending these spots, in my opinion. He does not like folding on these boards.
I'm going to continue with all of his overpairs, obviously. At least one.
Yeah, strong prediction. Phil is not folding king plus here.
Even versus a triple.
Oh, no, I mean on turn. On river, he can start folding a bunch of them, but over pair blocker, he probably goes with. A jam here would be highly unusual. Just a smooth call.
Checks for a third time.
Yeah, snap checking river.
So all the 4-5-7 wraps, brick, spades, brick.
Mm-hmm.
Phil Freak gonna continue turning like his like 6, 7, 8, 9 hands into a bluff.
I don't know if he'd be potting turn because he just has so many bluffs here.
Wow. He says I want $24,295, please, Phil.
Yeah. He just has so many hands that want to bluff here that he might not be firing all of them. So I believe this a little more.
And as you mentioned, Phil just flicking in the call with kings and a pair blocker, or
King, queen, 6 for sure. But I mean, just perfect sizings by Freak. Really, really well played hand, no matter what he has. Honestly, at this point, you're playing against such a competent player. You can just flip a coin when you're towards the bottom of your
wow. Phil flicks in the call and Freak bluffing on the flop and turning the nut boat. 8-ball corner pocket, Richard, getting paid on the river.
Yeah, unfortunate for sure, but can't fault Freak. I like that quarter pot on flop, keeping himself uncapped, letting him barrel off on some runouts, sometimes turning the 2-outer.
And also with that 4-8, you know, if it turns a 5 or a 7.
So we spoiler alert, we have a SPR1 over on flowing. Phil might decide to unload the clip here.
Room for 100K pot, boys and girls.
Oh boy. We got to make sure only one of us goes, wow, whenever whenever the money goes in. Wow, top boat.
I mean, Freak giving Phil as much rope as possible, and Phil, arguably with a hand that could have potentially pulled the trigger there on the river.
Well, we
Ace
have some
Queen
insight.
high.
We've got some insight into how Phil thinks. We asked him about that in one of the post-game interviews. And no pair blocker, no pot.
No pair blocker, no pot, says Richard.
Says Phil. Oh, you know what that means.
There we have it. 4-bet alert, boys and girls. And Freak just running over today's match. That was weak AF, Richard.
Super weak. I'm sorry.
Jack 9 deuce, all diamonds.
Is that better?
Hey, what's up, Poker Shares? Actionfreak up around about 150, 160k so far today. 2 hours in. 16k in the middle over on table flowing.
Yeah, I know something that's not flowing at 4-bet horn. But wow, what? I mean, Phil was the 3-bet caller, right? Man, I do this sometimes. I love this lead. It is taking a flop that looks like it should have an advantage to the imposition player, but in reality, both players miss this quite frequently. I mean, something like a little less than a quarter of their range being flushes. So you get to take your weaker hands, something like Queen 10-8 with a diamond or something, and lead with it for a very high EV small lead.
And board pair on the turn.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Freak's folding any aces here, especially if he has aces with the ace of diamonds. Although when Phil sticks it on the turn, he typically has it, I would think. If he bets here as a bluff, it's a very high-level play, and I'm not sure I like it.
Wow, I mean, what is that sizing?
So if you can extend the wagering over 3 streets instead of 2, it's, from a theory perspective, higher EV. And don't ask me to explain that. I struggle to wrap my head around it as well. But it is true. So Phil taking that idea and pushing it to its limit, betting a 5th pot here, perhaps remembering when he faced a 16th pot size bet from Freak on a monotone board.
SPR 0.3. I mean, Phil surely gonna stick it in here. I mean, does Freak ever have some traps?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, all of Freak's traps would be flatting.
Yeah.
Every good hand he has is just calling down.
I mean, no snap.
Yeah, well, no chill for Phil. I mean, this is...
Does Freak ever have just like aces with like a king of diamonds blocker?
Yeah, I mean, I think that has to call, but it's just... You just lose, right?
Wow, he folds.
Maybe I should just play cards down.
Maybe you should, man. Put on a show for us.
Oh, I don't even mean for that. I just mean in my regular grind, because I'm better at understanding what's going on when his card's down than when his card's up. So that could be a fun challenge, to stream something like 50 cent a dollar PLL where you can't see your cards or their cards, no showdowns.
I don't know, man. Like, when you're playing those stakes, do you feel like you'd be able to read into people's ranges as correctly as you are here? I feel like you're more on this level than the mindset of a 50 cent $1 player.
Well, I definitely came up through those streets. I have a pretty good idea of what's going on in terms of what kinds of mistakes they're likely to be making. So yeah, dude, I'd take odds on that. If someone wanted to prop bet on me playing 50 cent a dollar, not being able to see any cards ever, if I could book a win rate, I'd really enjoy that, to be honest. That's one of the more interesting things I've thought of recently. Queen 8 deuce 2-tone. Phil stabs in position, and Freak says, "Let's run it."
60k pot on our hands if Freak clicks the call button. He does. And wow.
Big free roll.
Big old free roll there.
Big papa free roll.
And Freak now up over 120k profit just on table iron alone. Phil now down, I believe, over 200k. So losing back half of his overall profits in today's session. We're only 2.5 hours in.
We got some additional terms coming in. I mean, Mike, Bodog does have normal rake. If anything, it has slightly higher rake than normal. Yeah, I understand the concern about chip dumping. I mean, you don't know me. I try to be pretty straightforward in everything I do, Eagle Scout, etc. But you know,
Yeah, I mean, we've got Richard as a Richard. We've got Phil as a mutual, contact. I don't think you're gonna 2,000 people and going to try and scam anyone.
Yeah, I mean, I'm at a point in my life where I'm comfortable enough. I wouldn't do it anyway, but there's no financial incentive really for me to do it.
But this seems like a pretty sick bet. I don't want to take anything away from the challenge, but we definitely need to shoot up some DMs.
Mike, I don't mean to reply to you with telling you to do the same thing to me, but it would be a lot easier if you could message me on Run It Once, just so I can get to it after the stream. I'm not sure where you'd want me to message you. I don't have a Twitter, etc. So, but this would be fun, dude. Honestly, this would be one of the most enjoyable things I've done in poker in a long time. But we do have poker being played.
We do. We're just going to put it out there. I want 20%. So
yeah.
Yeah,
potting, polarizing this river.
And getting paid. Snap call from Phil. I mean, it just feels like he cannot buy a pot today.
Huge flop, huge river. Phil down all the buy-ins right now. Maybe something like, MP Adam says 225. I would have guessed something like 180. Some of this money is Freak's, as Phil coolered him when he one-outed him middle set versus top set at the beginning of the session. So not all the blood in the water is Phil's. Meanwhile, over on Curtain, Phil respecting the high-low-low nature of this texture and playing as check call. Freak consenting, let's dance, half pot on the flop. Does he barrel? He's got a massive advantage here, generally speaking, so we should see another shell coming in. Pot, question mark? SPR4 can just barely get the money in. He decides, let's play for it. Does Phil have the trap? We'll see a couple jams here and maybe get a 100K pot. Possibly. 90K counts. I mean, let's be real. Phil in the tank, probably not jamming after he tanks this long. He's got some tendencies. Just calls. Huge river for Phil's defending range. Plenty of straights out there for Phil. Plenty of two pairs. Freak with a ton of missed draws, ton of missed spades, ton of missed straight draws. King 4, King 5, not really happy to bet jam. Value range constricting dramatically. Does Freak have the turn 2 pair like King Jack 10 that's going for it? Does Phil have that hand himself? Huge pot here. This is the Stalingrad for Phil. Does he send in the boys in the trains? Are his reinforcements coming in? King Jack 9 possibly. Ace King Jack 9, pretty credible hand for Phil to have. Freak trying to piece the puzzle together. Time banking down 2, 1, and checks back a set.
So it looks like we have got the tables back. Stacks have been reset. Phil down around about 215K on the day.
Meanwhile, Phil in the driver's seat on a texture that should be strongly favoring him. Was this 3-bet and then check half pot call?
Yes.
So Phil deciding to check back that turn is a major statement. Maybe a little gun shy, not wanting to run the triple in this spot. Decent spot to do it, though. Freak either inducing or trying to get to showdown. Phil trying to put the pieces of the puzzle together. I think pot was really, really nice here.
Farah saying, I guess I shouldn't go in to get his phone today. Really want Starbucks.
Wow. That is some kind of soul read and a half. Phil with perhaps what many would consider the mandatory bluff combo, deciding to put in a flop bet and then just shut down. Meanwhile, his opponent had the second nuts. Phil loading the gun through that pot here, queen 9-5 two-tone, relatively equal texture for both players. Should see something like, oh, fires off the third pot ski.
Oh, there we go. There we go. A bit of value with the ace king. Let's go. LFG Falcons. I was saying 100% rake back. Farah, can I use your guys' home for my fake Canada address, please? I need 100% rake back in my life. Check
Wow.
pile. Sorry, not check pile, just pile from Freak.
Going with it. Phil will have a decent amount of bet stack offs here. Something like king, king, jack with clubs.
Let's just get the ace, ace, jack 10 with nut clubs and just ping off the 3 of clubs on the turn. Let's go, Phil.
Oh, baby. Shouldn't see too many raise folds given basically everything has to call here.
Oh, wow. Wow. Phil with the middle pair, gut shot, king high clubs. Not getting there against top 2, 8 high clubs.
Small dog just couldn't run him down. Phil 3-betting, really good flop for Phil. He agrees. Continuation betting.
Eric, whilst you're here, could I ask that we get some more of that feeding Spencer lemons? That's what I'm all about.
Sorry, what?
Farah uploaded a story to Instagram where she just handed Spencer, who's like 18 months old, a lemon, and his reaction was priceless, man.
Really?
Big pot, a brewing.
Surprised to see Phil not stack off on this turn, as often he's looking for a safe one. This is about as safe as you can get. Perhaps inducing.
Starting the handoff, what, 150 pp's effective.
Yeah, he's pretty much either really strong or pretty weak here. As a lot of those middling, like just some kind of top 2 is going to bet 3-bet.
And Freak deciding to maybe realize his equity on the turn, checking back.
Yeah, you're catching on.
Thanks, man.
I'm just teasing.
Oh, God.
Phil wondering how thinly can he bet here? How strong is Freak's checkback range on the turn? This sizing means he thinks Freak is pretty weak, trying to get value from one pair. Now, Old Man B, it was the first 2, not the third.
Classic Doug Polk line.
Oh, I didn't know it was a quote.
Yeah, it's like, oh, well, our opponent could be really strong here, very weak, or have a medium strength hand. Just all the options.
The question is, how sick is Freak? Does he value raise 10-4 here if he somehow shows up with like Queen Jack 10-4?
There we go, Phil Galfond.
Pretty reasonable stab from Freak here. Raffic 19, you might get me to exploitatively deviate to saying snapperooskied if I have to pay for it. Wow, big turn for Phil. His overpairs just went up in value a good deal.
Fallow strongly supports the deviation.
He's a bit of a deviant himself, huh? Freak respecting Phil's overpairs, checking back this turn. Occasionally you'll see a deceptive full house checking back, slipping it to him. Meanwhile, a big river over on curtain, potentially being lights out for Phil. Wow, I don't really know what Phil's doing here.
Yeah, I feel like this is just asking to be put in the bin.
Yeah, I mean, it feels mandatory. You feel like you have to do it. Got to go for that value, but then it's 20K to go.
Chucking out the old
Probably
3.6K block bet.
Probably 18K if he's going to bluff raise here, to be honest, but we'll see. He might be greedy with quads and want to go for all of it.
I mean, as you mentioned, Freak gonna have some trap checkbacks on the turn.
Mm-hmm. Does he choose to rep it?
Looks like he's gonna time out. No, he's not. Wow, what a hero call from Actionfreak.
Oh my god.
It's just one of them days.
Oh my god. Although for realsy, Crazy Pyro, I do have my next Run At Once video being edited right now. I should be able to upload it tonight. It's a coaching session that was pretty solid. Hope you enjoy it. They've been very kind, as I am way over my deadline, but they're letting me have some leniency. Thank you very much, Run At Once. Here we have 3-bet pot, Phil going small and wide on king low low. Pretty rough turn for Phil. Ace of diamonds taking away a bunch of his flushes, as we've seen on this exact board previously today. Does he continue barreling? Nope. Needs to play pretty high frequency check here. Freak able to pick up the slack. Phil's going to struggle to defend something like half pot. Does he choose to polarize? Does he choose to go slightly wider, smaller? Freak in the driver's seat. Phil can't choose the sizing. Tough spot for him if Freak piles. There it is.
Phil facing another tough spot, Richard, by the looks of it.
Mm-hmm. TKS, you can find those videos at Run At Once Elite in the PLO section. It's how I learned. Now I'm giving back. Really, really solid coaching content there from the likes of Corey Mikesell, Richard Grieco, and Phil Galfond. Phil calling turn and drilling that ace of spades. The ace from space. Does he jam?
27 in the middle. Feels like it's time for Galfond to win one of these.
Basically obligatory. Couldn't see him check here.
He does go for the pile. All the biscuits. Potentially a 73K pot.
49,000 cookies in the middle of
Phil
the
with
European
raise.
variety. Freak does have to call some flushes or he's being exploited. Throws the book out the window and folds. Oh.
Get the 4-bet horn out. Time for a 100K pot. Let's go. LFG PG, although that is a board.
Oh, you hate to see it.
I mean,
what a stupid board. Can we reroll and get 7, 8, 9 two-tone?
Let's just run it in with the king, queen, 10, 9 nut spades and just get there. All right.
Yeah, not
Let's
a bad
just
game
get
plan.
there.
Phil getting a fair price to realize his equity with any gutter flush draw, for instance.
Yeah, interesting sizing from Freak.
Yeah, I think it
The
sets up
SPR1 for the turn jam.
Exactly. Natural.
So I told you, man, like people don't understand by having you in the booth, they're just getting an insane amount of free coaching. Wow. Let's run it, boys. 100K pot potential on table iron. And what? Freak just like, dude, what are you doing? You're not allowed to do this on this board.
You know, I think it calls for it. Get hyped. Potential for 100 smackaroos in the middle. Freak wondering, did Phil trap me pre-flop? Is he just raising draws only? Is he raising ace jack? How wide can I continue? If I have ace king 10, am I ahead of draws? Oh,
Let's go, Phil. Let's go.
Wow, what a stack off. Holy shnikes. Top pair, weak flush draw for all the buckaroos. Stone dead, basically. I don't know, just 2020. I mean, you were talking about people playing poker 5 years from now. I think we've got different ideas about the longevity of poker.
I don't know, man. I feel like it's something that, you know, people have been saying for the last 20 years or whatever about, you know, poker dying. I mean, I just feel like it's not going to happen. Yeah, I agree. The games are getting tougher, but you know, you got more and more people signing up day in, day out.
Yeah, I hear you. I mean, I would care about the percentage of the player pool that's able to make over like 100, 120 a year. That's the number I care about.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really interesting discussion. You know, I've seen.
Though we've got Phil piling King 7-5 over on curtain, super deep opportunity for a massive pot. If Freak has King King, he might raise on such a dynamic texture. We could see set over set for all the moolah. Instead, just a call. Phil's double barrel range going to have a bunch of diamonds, lots of his top twos, top sets in a tough spot. Does he play something like Ace King, Ace of Diamonds as a bet pot? You hate to be in Freak's shoes when you're sitting there with a 10 high flush and Phil piles this river.
Phil does play his check. Ever
Freak now.
any traps in Phil's?
Yeah, certainly, yeah. I mean, there's a whole bunch of hair there for Freak. Right. Instead, he had a light call. Aces up on the turn. No good to Phil's flop set and flush draw.
Certainly been in games before. I'm like, is this actually worth my time?
Yeah, Thallow, I know you're a hardcore live guy. That's totally fine. Like I said, different strokes for different folks. Meanwhile, Phil, 3-bet pot bet call, checking this turn. Surprised he's slowing down, as on this turn, Freak is not going to improve very much, and Phil is able to double barrel with relative impunity. Oh, Camkite, if you're being friends with people that are actively nasty, you got to rethink who you're choosing to be your friends.
Similar spot on tape. Wow, Phil just says, let's run it.
Looks like a trap, smells like a trap. He should have been betting this turn a large amount of the times. When he checks, it's either nothing or the trapper Ruski.
Surely Freak has no bet folds, right?
Activated my trap card. Freak wondering, is his gutter flush draw completely dominated?
Surely can't bet pot and then fold to a jam with 14 behind.
King 5 against.
Wow.
Top
he was good.
Phil super live there. Can't hit it. So we've got a check pile here. Single raise pot. Freak loading the gun, anticipating this bet and raising. Expect to see some top sets here. Maybe some ace queen 8 nut flush draw type hand.
Yeah, as well as some like top twos with straight draws.
Yeah, I dig it. Although those might prefer bet, hard to say. These guys have some pretty complex ranges. Phil, 35, going to be very much underrepresented in his range. Also going to have a lot of pair plus draws that are now just pairs. Freak, strongly incentivized to bet this river. Goes small. What do you make of that?
I mean, it feels like a sizing where he could just be getting some cheap bluffs through, but as well as he's going to be going with like his 2-pair that don't block spades and don't block straights. I mean, wow. I mean, I did not expect to see Phil pile in this spot.
Yeah, I kind of believe it. Although he could have something like, ace, king, 3 of spades.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, picking up spades on the turn, picking up nut spades on the turn with a open
Having
ender.
the gutter. Yeah.
Freak in the tank.
Well, here's the thing. If Freak has a middling strength hand that's trying to get called by slightly worse, he's actually strongly incentivized to play this river as check so that Phil can bluff with all his misdraws. So this bet doesn't really make that much sense. It looks like a cheap bluff. I think your first guess was spot on, although as he tanks longer, you're not tanking that long with air. So clearly, Freak was up to something. Meanwhile, Freak potting the 8-7 deuce rainbow, leveraging his overpair advantage to the maximum. Huge turn for Phil's flatting range. This 5 of hearts is a big turn for Phil. We should be seeing a decent amount of checks unless Freak just goes with it. Nope. Phil in the driver's seat. Phil leveraging his straights on this 5 of hearts, pretty major spot. Phil should be able to do this quite credibly, although he's got plenty of bluffs, something like 7, 10, 9. Most of his jack 10, 9 might just raise, get it in on the flop. Freak way deep in the time bank. Does he have another one? No, he goes with it. Oh my goodness, oh my lord. King 10, 9. Wow. Pair plus draw for Phil. Meanwhile, overpair, quote unquote, with straight draw and flush draw for Freak, and Freak hits the heart.
So it looks like Freak has sat out, and we have just hit the 5-hour mark, I believe. That concludes today's session, Richard.
GG Phil. Honestly, he had such a tough session. For him to have the resiliency to keep his head down playing quality poker, he might have faded a little bit, like 2/3 of the way through, but he definitely rallied back.
Yeah, I mean, gotta get some GGs into the chat for Phil today. Doesn't look like we're gonna get him on for a post-match interview, and I think so. Break from talking about poker, thinking about poker. Hopefully, he just goes in and enjoys his time with the family. Richard, man, it was a roller coaster today. Really was. We had that quads hand straight off the bat. Felt like we were gonna, have today's show in a similar fashion as to Saturdays, and didn't happen. Phil finished it down around about 220k. We will get confirmation on Twitter, so don't forget to follow the Run It Once Poker Twitter account or Instagram account.